work? Would you rather work with all women? How about you guys? Would you rather work with all guys? Joining us to talk about this is Neena Newberry. Ms. Newberry is a leadership expert, and the numbers are kind of surprising. Women said, yes, I'd rather work with all women, and guys, all guys, Neena, or what do we make of this? I don't believe this. Come on.
Yeah, right. Everyone wants a little bit of variety, right? Actually, when you look at the research, it does show that people are a lot more comfortable and cooperative in settings that, where people look and act more like themselves, right? We've got more people of the same gender because there's a lot more common ground. So you know what to expect, what's acceptable behavior, rules of the game are a little bit clearer. You've got more common experiences, so it makes sense that it'd be more comfortable, but it does come at an expense and impact to the organization. So when you've got more diversity in an organization, one of the things that comes with that is more creativity, more originality, and you end up really driving more productivity within the organization.
Okay, so Neena, let me just throw in here a little bit of healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
Not that I want to make gross generalizations about economists, but this survey was conducted between 1995 and 2002. Why does it take 12 years for an economist to get this study published?
Yeah, well, you know, things can definitely get caught up. So the study is a little bit dated, but they did have data over an extended period of time, and they've taken a look at data since then as well, and think that the findings are still pretty valid. But when you compare it to other information that's out there, it is pretty consistent when you think about the fact that it's a lot easier to navigate in environments where you know what to expect. There's more consistency. But, you've also got to look at that in the context of what's really going to drive value. And, one of the things that I found really interesting about the study is that companies that have an environment where they are more accepting of diversity, regardless of whether or not they have a diverse population, they still have employees that are a lot more cooperative and satisfied. So just being able to communicate those messages that we value and appreciate diversity makes a huge difference.
It would appear that also that diversity allows you to start understanding people and get outside of maybe your own safety net or your own little box of ideas, and to your point, bring about more creativity.
Yeah, and I mean, you can have challenges as well, right? Once you start bringing more diversity into the mix, because people do have different ideas. So how do you communicate those things effectively? I mean, I coach a lot of leaders on this in particular. How do you get your message across? How do you influence? How do you show your value? Especially when you may have different ways of doing that and different attitudes about it, and there are different standards of what's acceptable for men versus women. Mm-hmm. And so you've really got to pay attention to the nuances.
I see what you're getting at, Neena, is that this is more about leadership than it is about the rest of the team. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, leadership's a huge part of it, right? Yes, absolutely. You set the tone, both in terms of the messages you're reinforcing about diversity, but also the things that you do to drive collaboration across the team. So you can have a bunch of people with different ideas, but you've got to keep it from getting to a place where it's too disruptive. Right. So, promoting innovation and differences in thought and perspective, but at the same time having some expectations around what's acceptable in terms of how we work together, how we disagree without being disagreeable. So, yeah, leadership definitely sets the tone.
Whether it's a male, female type of situation as this study provides, but different age groups and categories. The deal is, it seems in the modern day workplace to me, is being pliable and adaptable, because just technology alone will make you have to learn new skill sets if you're going to stay in the game of wherever you're working.
Yeah. Absolutely. So being able to, grow with an organization, understand what the changes are is really, really important. And also, coming back to the point around leadership too, one of the things that this study does show is that the more diversity you have, right, so if you go from an all-male or all-female office to one that's more equally split, men and women, it has a big impact on revenue. So, they said it could drive a revenue gain of 41%, which is a pretty staggering number. But, you know, the reality is there is a financial impact, and there's also a difference in terms of the overall experience that your employees are going to have. And so as a leader, you can really make a big difference in driving some pretty big impacts forward.
Pretty big impacts on that bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other dimension that they looked at was tenure as well, so how long people have worked in an organization. And so if you've got a lot of diversity around tenure, that can also increase conflict and actually negatively impact revenue. So, you know, looking at that mix of people that you have and how you help them work effectively together is something that leaders definitely need to pay attention to. And as an employee, you know, you've got to look at, okay, who are the people that I'm surrounded by, and how can I really collaborate with them effectively? So there's that challenge on, you know, getting your interpersonal skills to where they need to be and being able to navigate through.
All right. Well, Neena Newberry, you took my skepticism and turned it into an educational experience. I appreciate that very much.
So now you all can work together. Thank you, Neena.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Neena Newberry joining us here at News Radio 840.